The Paula Show is on. The Paula Show. Come on, one and all. I extend an invitation to the Paula Show. Join in the conversation. Transforming behavior, recognizing our savior, overcoming hurdles, achieving dreams. Together we can succeed.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Paula Show. It's season 16, and all season long, we've presented you with delightful guests. And tonight, it's no different. Susan Jarvis is here with us. And whenever I remember Susan, this quote comes to mind. A winner is a dreamer who never gives up. Nelson Mandela. A diligent student at the Princess Margaret Secondary School. An avid debater. A point girl. A lady with many dreams and aspirations. Also a lady who lost her mother along the way at the hand of a cruel person. And ladies and gentlemen, despite all these experiences, I am telling you, I'm predicting rather, that in the future, this lady will become a Queen's Counsel in Antigua and Barbuda. Thank you for staying with us on the Paula Show. Lots more super information coming up about Susan Jarvis. Stay with us, please. Thank you for staying with us on The Paula Show. Remember to watch The Paula Show via CTV Channel 2 on Tuesday nights at 9 and Sundays at 1 in the afternoon. The Paula Show inspires, entertains, and transforms behavior. Like me as well on Facebook, The Paula Show. And please watch The Paula Show programs via our YouTube channel at The Paula Show TV. Tonight, I've brought to you, my audience, a very brilliant young lady. Lots of dreams and aspiration on set tonight. You won't be disappointed. Susan Jarvis, thank you for accepting our invitation to the Paula Show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Hear all these things I'm saying about you?
I heard.
You just make sure you become the next Queen's Counsel.
I will do my best.
I will do my best. All right, I'll accept that. Former debater, former debate coach, law revision commissioner, legislative drafter, and non-practicing barrister. Is there anything else to add to this? Of course, wife.
Yes, yes, and very proud of that. Yes,
Yes.
wife and
How many years now?
almost 9. Next month
Wow,
will make 9 years.
it's been a long
Yes,
stretch.
yes,
That's good.
and it's been a good one.
Congratulations.
I have not regretted the
Girl,
decision.
welcome to the good club.
I love it here.
I love it here too. But when I think of all, you know, I shared your accolades, but I know you're a very humble person. When I speak of all that you're doing, the one that stands out to me is non-practicing barrister.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, what's the meaning of that, non-practicing barrister?
Okay. Well, simply put,
Uh-huh.
I would have trained or received my vocational training as we would say an attorney or a lawyer here in Antigua, but in the United Kingdom, it's referred to as a barrister. So I would have received that vocational training as a barrister in the United Kingdom,
Okay.
but I don't live there and I don't intend to do any practicing there.
So you could actually practice there?
If I were to go
If
back
you were
there,
to.
I could.
Okay.
I definitely
All
could.
right.
But because that was never in the plan, it was always to go, get the education and the
Yes.
knowledge and the experience and come back home and see what I could do here in Antigua and maybe even in the region, you know.
Okay.
So because of that, I am a non-practicing barrister in the UK, right? However, a person who is what we would say called to the bar in the United Kingdom
Yeah.
is not necessarily eligible or called to the bar here in Antigua and Barbuda. There's still another hurdle, so to speak, that needs to be crossed.
And what's that hurdle?
Well, it's just that I would have to do what is referred to as a legal education certificate.
Okay.
That is granted to a student.
Is that the same as the conversion?
Yeah, that's what people call it.
People call it
That's
a
what they call it.
conversion.
So the
Yeah.
Council of Legal Education is the one that would grant that certificate to you after you would have completed their program. And in my case, because I am already called to the bar in another jurisdiction, being the United Kingdom, I would only need to do this particular course for a period of 6 months.
6 months?
Yes. Somebody else who is not called anywhere else would have to do it for 2 years.
Wow.
Yes.
So there's an advantage for you?
Yes, there is an advantage. And of course, added to that was the fact that I was able to experience a culture and a life outside of Antigua for the time that I would have been studying there.
But that certificate that you would have to achieve, and it would allow you to practice law in Antigua, can it be done online? Can it be done here? Or you'd have to travel again?
Well, usually, on the normal circumstances, I would have had to go to Jamaica.
Wow, not
Because Antiguans are routed to the Norman Manley Law School, and so that is where I would have had to go. But because of the situation with COVID, I have been informed that they will be offering the course online. So luckily,
so you can get it done.
Yes. So I have already lodged my application. I'm just waiting to hear the final word. And once I'm accepted into the program, I would not be required to travel there.
Have you always had a desire to study law? It was something else and then you shifted to law?
Always. Absolutely always. I always wanted to be a lawyer. And I think this was as far back as when I was about 8 or 9 years old. I recognized that that was what I wanted to do.
So you read books?
At that time, I wasn't reading any books with a legal slant to it or legal theme. What I was doing was watching television shows that were legal-based, so to speak. So I'm sure you're familiar with Matlock.
Matlock,
Perry
yes,
Mason.
and Perry Mason.
Of course, you know, there's a bit of an over-dramatization because it's for television. But having now studied law, I recognize that there's certain salient things that are there, and I was watching these things at a very young age, and I said, yeah, I want to do that.
Preparation.
Yes.
But while your dreams and aspirations might be considered to some as lofty, because you were growing up in a single-parent household, and similarly, growing up in a single-parent household, there's usually lack of finances. So here is it, you're growing up in Point, single-parent household, and you're not shifting. You want to become a lawyer. Did your mom, and you lived with your grandma as well, did they encourage you? Or did they say, child, try and choose something else, please? Like well, let me not say like anything, but something else.
I really, and may her soul continue to rest in peace, but I really do have to give the kudos to my mother, because you already laid the background. You mentioned single-parent household.
Yes.
Lack of finances, so the economic situation was not the best.
Yes.
And I think you mentioned in your introduction that I am from the Point community.
Yes, indeed.
So I had several forces working against me, so to speak.
Yes.
But let me tell you, I know for a fact that when I would have communicated to my mother from a young age that I wanted to be a lawyer, and I kept saying it as I got older, at no point in time did she ever discourage me. She never did. As a matter of fact, I can vividly recall that when I was trying to seek financing to do my Bachelor of Laws degree, I had applied to the National Student Loan Fund for a loan, because they were offering low interest loans, which was quite affordable. And there was an interview process before you are actually selected to be given a loan. And I recall when we were at the interview, because my mother was one of my sureties at the time, one of the persons who was interviewing us asked her, because he asked me why I want to study law. I don't quite recall what I said to him, but I know that whatever I said it confidently, because I had a goal in mind. I had an idea mapped out mentally where I wanted to go, and I think I enunciated that to him. And he turned to my mother and he said, "Mommy, was she always like that?" And she looked at him like, "You have no idea. She's always been that way, always wanted to be a lawyer and always been very assertive." And he said, "And you're okay with that?" She said, "If my daughter wants to be a lawyer she shall be. There's nothing more to it.
And that's so compelling, Susan, because dreams are shelved at times
Yes.
because of lack of finance and because of lack of parents' vision.
Indeed.
And sometimes parents are persuaded by external forces, to include people, to shelve their children's dreams.
Yes, yes.
Because, you know, your godmother says this, uncle says this. Oh, you hear what the man says, you hear what the lady says, that you're not able to do it because. And generally, if it's a person that can influence that parent, the child might not be allowed to study in that particular area. So I'm glad that your mother held her ground, and here you are today. So gifts for children who are studying medicine, you might receive a first aid kit. And if you wanted to be a tailor, maybe some needles and threads. And if engineering, some vehicles. But I suppose you receive the same types of gifts all the time.
Well,
books.
My mother was very big on reading. Yes, so she bought a lot of books for me. Granted, they weren't legal books, and obviously she would not have known what sort of books in terms of legal to buy.
But
my mother was very big on reading. She herself read a lot, and she would put her books down, and I would pick them up and read them, even if they weren't age appropriate. So
oh well, no, I had all age appropriate books.
I mean, when I think now, I look back on it. Some of those books I read that belonged to my mother, I probably should not have read them at that stage in my life. But no harm done.
You grew up with your mom and your grandmother.
Yes.
And what were the qualities that were common between these two ladies?
Okay, both of them were very strong women, and they also came from backgrounds where the women in their lives were strong women. So there was that. I saw the element of what it meant to be a strong woman, a woman who had a lot on her plate but still found a way to make it all work and to get it all done. So I think I learned from a very early age that women, as women, we have a strength, and we need to learn how to use our strengths. In addition to that, my mother in particular was very strong on education. So as I told you, we read a lot of books, and she would always drum into my head as a child that she's not sending me to school to waste her time and waste her money. And she would always remind me that how early she had to wake up in the mornings.
Sounds like a common
to
theme
get to
in
her
all
shop.
our
But she ran a
households.
snack, yes. She ran a snack shop, so she had to get up early, prepare the food items, go to the bakery, get the bread and so on, and then go to the shop and be ready for when most of her customers would come in, like 7 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah, so anything
She'd be
like
up
5
at 3 and 4.
4 o'clock she gets up, she reads her Bible, says her prayers, gets herself ready. My grandmother would have been assisting in terms of preparing some of the food items, and then by 5:30 the latest, she's out of the door. That time I'm still asleep. So she would always remind me of the sacrifice that she has to make every day to ensure that I eat and I go to school.
Yeah, and in addition to the strength, I see there a pattern of being orderly and being prepared.
And being
And
disciplined.
that can only, augur well for the children in the household.
Yes.
But you said that even though you've accomplished quite a lot for your age, you still have a ways to go. I've already predicted Queen's Counsel, but before that, what else do you wish to accomplish?
Okay, well, first of all, remember earlier we were speaking about this non-practicing barrister thing.
So
I would have enunciated to you that it is my intention to do that 6-month course so that I can qualify as an attorney, so I can be called as an attorney here in Antigua. That's one. After that, I would like to be exposed to what I studied. So I want an opportunity to be in the courtroom. I don't think that I would have gone through all of this just to sit in the back somewhere and look cute. No, that's not for me.
You want to be in the fray.
At some stage, I want to be in the courtroom.
Yes.
Also, futuristically, and this is something that I've already started putting in motion, but it will take a while for it to come to full fruition. I would like to have my own consulting firm because I have a lot of skills in the legal area. So apart from the fact that I would be a qualified attorney, I also have legislative drafting skills. So that is generally what I do. I draft legislation presently at the Ministry of Legal Affairs, and I also do law revision as well. And there are other things that are connected to that sort of work that I would like to do. So I would sort of want to have a consulting firm, whether on my own or with a partner or partners, so that we can offer our services to a wide array of persons who may need it, both here in Antigua and abroad. Yes.
Well, I love the fact that you intend to broaden your scope.
Indeed.
But the next time we speak, maybe you'll have some timelines for some of those.
Yes.
Unless you already have your timelines.
Sort of, but
it not concrete.
One is dependent on what happens first and second.
Okay.
So I won't put a timeline to them now, except for the 6-month course, which is just around the corner.
Okay.
But in terms of the other things I mentioned, those are dependent on some factors that at this point are not necessarily in my control.
Okay.
But I'll get there.
Very well.
Yes.
I like the confidence.
Yes.
Thank you for staying with us on the Paula Show. Tonight I'm speaking with Susan Jarvis. She's a lady who wears many hats. I'm so proud of her, and it's my pleasure to speak with her tonight. So thank you for staying with us, and we'll be right back after this commercial break. You were reading point, which is oftentimes referred to as the ghetto.
Yes.
How does that make you feel?
Well, I think when I was growing up, it wasn't a particularly nice feeling, especially when you went in other places and you were mixed with persons from other places and you recognized that the treatment that was being given to you was not the same as the treatment being given to other persons.
Because of the label of ghetto.
Because of the label of ghetto. And I also think that, I guess as I got older and I was more cognizant of certain things, I think that some of the young persons within that community probably took on the label a little too much. And in my opinion, it prevented some of them from really reaching their full potential.
Yes.
So it's a mixed thing for me. I am able now, it doesn't really bother me. I understand the context in which persons may say it, but I know that sometimes it's said in a malicious manner. And that's the part that I don't particularly like.
The intention is to intimidate.
Yes, intimidate
but
and bring down.
I know that you will not be intimidated.
Well, I was not.
Because I look here, former debater, former debate coach, law revision commissioner, legislative drafter, and non-practicing barrister, soon to be a practicing barrister. So the label of ghetto did not impede your progress at all.
It did not.
Have there been times when people use the label to try to intimidate you?
Yes, it has happened, and it happened more in a context in terms of school. As you said, I was a debater, and I debated for the Princess Margaret School, and everybody knows where Princess Margaret School is located. And Princess Margaret School also had a label, but I won't say what it was because it bothers me to this day that it was referred to. The letters, each letter was used to refer to something in connection with a female. So you understand, right?
Yes.
And so you always found that whenever Princess Margaret School students went to a competition somewhere, in those days, I can't speak for now, but in the days when I was a debater, the treatment was not always the best. This came from other persons we were competing against, as well as even adults.
Adults.
Yes. And we
less
encountered
than. You
that.
were considered less than.
Yes, to the point where it was almost incredulous that students from the Princess Margaret School could win a debate encounter, let alone a series.
I know they were
unheard of.
I know
How
there
dare
were.
we?
Exactly.
Yes.
I know there were times when you guys lost, and there were a lot of questions.
There was an
asked.
occasion that loss, and I remember it to this day. Don't get me started on it.
No.
I remember we had lost the final. We had lost the semi-final round by 1 point, and I'm still trying to understand even the judge's rationale for us not winning the competition, because everybody who was there and who saw it on the television came to the conclusion that we were robbed.
I actually managed the debate.
Yes.
Debate.
You were working for Cable and Wireless at the time?
Yes. I was working for telecoms, and I managed the debate series for many years.
Indeed.
And sometimes I would visit and experience the debate presentations, and you guys were just, I mean, brilliant. And especially the the last part there, what do you call the
Oh,
last
the
part?
rebuttal.
The rebuttal.
Yes.
I just never understood how you could capture all the salient points and then
It's very tricky.
rebutted with such accuracy
Yeah.
and confidence.
Well,
oh,
you
I
know,
loved debate.
If I may, the key to that, and this is just for general information, for
Yes.
anybody who may be watching this program and who's
Yes.
interested in debating, the key to rebuttals, right, is to already have the other side's argument
Yes.
written.
Yes.
So you
Yes.
anticipate the points
You
that they're going to
anticipate.
make, and you already have an idea that if they make the point, what you will say.
Yes.
They may not make it exactly the way you anticipate, but if it's close
Similar,
enough, you
yeah.
can wing it. And
Yeah.
that's how you get to do a really decent rebuttal, and you pick up on all their points, and you just come
So
with
you
the fire.
preempt.
Yeah,
you
for
preempt.
certain topics,
Yes.
it's actually fairly easy to preempt
Yes.
the points that the other side will
Because
come
I
with.
mean, if
Yeah.
you're asking yourself the questions
There you
that
go.
you're likely to ask them,
Mm-hmm.
if you had an opportunity, you know what the answers
Right.
would be.
And I also can recall, because I did debating at the Leeward Islands level when I was at State College, what we actually had to do at that time was when you got the topic, you had to prepare both sides of the argument. And
Yes.
you only knew what side you were going to argue when you got to the venue.
Oh, Lord.
Yes.
That's scary.
Those were rough days, but great days.
You said that in addition to the label of being told that you are from the ghetto, there was another label. You're
Yes,
you're the
yes.
child of immigrants.
Yes, that was
I
constantly
never realized
thrown
that
at
was
me.
such a huge deal.
Oh, yes. I mean, I think things have somewhat changed a bit in Antigua now. I think we are more accepting of persons who are from other countries. Of course, you have the occasional issue, but generally what I see in Antigua now is that persons are more accepting.
But we seem to always accept Dominicans.
You would think, but
Yeah.
that was always the perception I had.
Because your mom and your grandmother
yes, my family,
from
my
Dom-
whole
yeah.
family. I was the only one that was born,
Born
here.
here.
When my mom came to Antigua, she was already 5 months pregnant with me.
Mm.
So that's why I was born here. My grandmother was already living here, and she came to live
Okay.
with my grandmother. That's how we ended up living with my grandmother.
With your grandmother, yes.
And I always remember, never mind that I spoke like an Antiguan. You can hear me talking.
Yes.
Do I sound like a Dominican?
No.
I sound like an Antiguan. No, the accent can come out. When I'm talking to other Dominicans, I do sound like them.
Oh, you
but
can switch on us.
I can switch, and I can speak fluent Creole as well, right?
Seriously?
Yes, since I was 5 years old. Because I grew up in a household with all Dominicans. But I was an Antiguan, born, bred, and raised, right? But it would be constantly thrown in my face at certain, times that I bang water, come here. And I said, excuse me, I didn't beat any water, come here. I was born here at Halberton Hospital.
Wow.
And persons did not believe that I was an Antiguan.
But they just took it for granted because of your
Yes.
mother, grandmother,
Right,
the accent
right.
that you're
And
from Dominica
in
as well.
those days, I'm telling you, because I lived it
Were
through
there
my family,
difficulties?
persons were not so accepting of foreigners in Antigua, right? The circumstances has changed. They've changed somewhat, and even now, OACA citizens don't have to worry. They come and live here, they get
Yes.
indefinite stay, they're okay. It wasn't the case back then. They had to go and get the time every 3 months like
And
everybody
pay.
else and pay. And so you knew who the foreigners were. And it was just a thing back in those days. It was very difficult for immigrants. And I just got the brunt of it a bit because I was a child of immigrants, and it was felt that I was also an immigrant, although I was a born Antiguan.
You might think that you do not have a Dominican accent.
Mm-hmm.
All my children, their helpers,
Yes,
were Dominicans.
really.
Yes, all.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing that my children had the Dominican accent.
They did.
Yes, because when
Okay.
the helpers were talking with their friends or whomever via the telephone, your little children, they're mimicking them,
Yes.
they're hearing, they're absorbing. So there were times in our household when something might go awry, and you hear the children say, Manger,
Oh, more day.
or Modier, or whatever it is. And
Or Papa Metz.
yeah, and Sakafet, and
Yes,
and they
yes.
sound Dominican. So I'm saying,
But that's the thing.
what
If
is
you are
going on here?
speaking the
Yes.
language, the Creole, the accent,
They were exposed
out,
to it,
yes.
and they learned it, and
If any of my relatives come here and they start to talk to me, you will hear the Dominican accent clearly when I respond to them. And I had a ritual with my grandmother to this day. When we speak to each other,
Creole?
we speak Creole.
You understand it that well?
Very well. I understand it.
Your brother does too?
He does, but he doesn't really speak it. But he understands.
Okay.
At least I think he still does. Well, growing up, I know that he knew. Because he was a Dominican, although he came to Antigua as a little boy.
All right.
Yes.
People migrate for various reasons.
Yes.
Career opportunities, to be closer to family and friends, and because of natural disasters, political persecution, and wars. So you would say that your family migrated because your mom wanted to be close to her mother.
Yes, and she needed a little assistance raising my brother, and then remember, I was on the way.
So economic reasons
Yes,
as well.
yes.
Did you visit Dominica to connect with your roots?
I did. I've been to Dominica quite a number of times. I haven't been recently. I think the last time I went there was 2011. So it's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yes, but I've been busy in all that time. You
Yes,
have to, you know.
yes. I like to travel.
Yes.
Because travel for me, it's always a huge adventure.
Yes.
And so to all the Dominicans who are watching the Paula Show tonight, I love Dominica, but I'm not going to live in Dominica.
I can't deal with the rain. The rain
But
is
just
my
the rain
issue.
is your problem?
Not just, but that is probably the biggest
major
issue.
problem.
The rain and the fact that the roads are very mountainous.
My son had motion sickness.
I don't like
Yes.
that, and I think I just like the idea that it doesn't take me long to get to town.
I
But no.
remember going to the river, and while we were at the river, something touched my foot.
And that was it?
And I leapt in the air from the river. And I said, crayfish, crayfish.
Oh, yes, they have a lot of those
crayfish
in the
bit
river.
me.
Yes,
And
yes.
everybody looked at me almost in disdain. Like, what is she making so much noise for? And then somebody just shrugged me off and said, Paula, please,
Yeah,
it
it's
must be
not
a
a big-
branch.
it's not a big
It's not
deal."
crayfish season.
Yeah.
I said, how am I supposed to know? I thought it was a crayfish. But I guess...
I encountered those a lot when I was, and I love the river. I didn't like the rocks. They have some very sharp rocks in the river,
and
but
you know what was strange to me? I saw it in Malawi as well. They did the laundry in the river.
Yes.
They washed the dishes in the river.
lots of stuff.
And then they bathe in the river. They do everything at the river.
I don't think, no, they do it that much. Only a
Yes.
few, you know, because, you
Yeah.
know, times have progressed.
Yeah,
and
we've
persons,
evolved.
yes. But it was actually something that I actually liked when I visited there. I used to look forward
And the
to going to the
community
river.
gathered
Yes.
there and you
And
bonded.
then somebody would bring a pot of food.
Yes,
And
yes.
you eat right there,
yes.
you continue the laundry, and yeah, it was fun. I can't believe that.
Thank you for staying with us on the Paula Show. We'll be right back after this commercial break. You mentioned that attending the Princess Margaret School was the best moment of your life?
I would count it as one of the best.
Oh, one of the best?
Yes, I've had so many great, blessed moments. I
Yes.
cannot be ungrateful. But the reason I said that is because, well, for one thing, I made some lifelong friends, persons who are still my friends to this day. That's one. And you cannot discredit good friendship, especially in this day and age.
No, because they're
Right.
far and few in between.
Right. The soundness of the education that I received at Princess Margaret School. Never mind that some persons looked down on the school. We had some very excellent teachers. And when I speak of
And you
excellent
still
teachers,
do.
and well, I would
Colin
assume,
Green.
well, very good principal from what
Yes.
I've been made to understand.
Yes.
But what I'm saying, we had really good teachers, and you could see that they were teachers who were dedicated
Who
to
love
us.
teaching.
They love
because
teaching,
they
they love
wanted to
children.
impact change in our
Yes.
lives as opposed to just getting a salary.
Exactly. And when I think of these teachers, one person really comes at the uppermost of my mind is
Who's
Mr.
that?
Glenford Joseph. He's now deceased.
Okay.
May his soul rest in peace. But he was responsible for getting me started in debating.
Really?
Yes. I remember when he because he taught us English language, and I remember when he mentioned that he's looking for students to join the
He's
debate
recruiting
team.
you
Yes.
guys.
And I said, yes, I'm going.
You ready?
In my mind, him and me go.
What farm?
Yes, we were in
Third?
fourth form.
Fourth.
Right. And in my mind, I said, yes, me go. So after school, he told us where to meet him, and a couple of us came. Because
Yes.
a lot of students would shy away from public speaking, understandably
true.
so. So it wasn't like the students that would come for volleyball and netball. It wasn't a
They
huge
weren't
crowd.
readily volunteering, right?
But a handful of us came, and you know, he spoke to us, and then he did like some little impromptu things for us to speak, so he could see how well we could speak and whatever. And eventually, he did a trial, and he selected myself and Jamil Lee, a relative of yours.
Yes.
And we became the
You
debaters
guys
for
were
Princess Margaret
star
School.
debaters.
We had backups. We did have backups, but we were the lead debaters for the team. And I am telling you, when I tell you, had it not been for me being at Princess Margaret School, crossing paths with Mr. Joseph, I am not sure I would be sitting here, because debating gave me the confidence that you see today.
Yes.
It's because of that
And
I can do so many things.
What advice would he have shared with you to help you reach your optimal performance?
He had this thing about him, and he would say to us, he would say, let me tell you all, and he had a head movement, I have to do it with the head. Let me tell you all something, nobody better than you. You have potential, you can do it. So when you get behind that podium, give it your all and let them see you can do it.
And he's rocking his head from side to
left to right, and the face serious like a heart attack. But we got the point.
You got the point.
The
You're
message
just
was
as good as
driven
anyone
home.
else.
Yes.
And even better.
It was good that he said that, because remember I told you earlier,
Yes.
when we went to these competitions, we would
Yes.
get the little things coming at us, the school that
The
we were from.
bullying.
And yes. And he would hear it, and he said, listen, no bother with them. What we did, you remember how to do what you do, right? Don't bother with them. That was his thing, and I'm ever so grateful for that.
Young people need adults
Yes.
as cheerleaders.
Yes, yes.
And never mind, they sometimes behave as if they don't want to hear from adults. They do not want the intervention of adults. Young people, they crave attention from
Yes.
adults, but sometimes they crave attention from adults who are not going to help them, but
Yes.
adults who are going to hurt them.
That's true. Or they seek it in the wrong way.
Yes.
So it comes across as if they are unruly, when in
Yes.
fact they just need someone to
They
take
just
some
need
time
someone
with
to
them.
take some time out,
Yes.
and you just need some attention, just need some guidance.
And I can speak to that, because I was a teacher for 10 years, and I had a lot of different students, and just what you're saying there, I encountered with a lot of them. And sometimes when you did take the time to speak with them, the things that they would tell you,
Yes.
and they would say,
They
you know,
confided.
I'm glad you talked to me now, because some people wouldn't even bother. So you recognize they're looking for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But as a result of debate, you would have learned some life skills. And you mentioned one, public speaking.
Yes.
What else?
Well, the public speaking, it has a myriad of other skills and proficiencies that come along with it. Because if you are a good public speaker, you can connect. Well, we don't have an audience here right now, but
Yes.
you can connect with an audience through public speaking. Being able to even impart knowledge, because I was a debater, I think I was a good teacher. Right.
Okay.
Well, my students said that I was, so I'm not
Excellent.
going to doubt them. Right, and it was
They
reflected.
were the recipients.
Yes, it was
and you
reflected
know,
in their
young
results.
people mark adults very hard.
Oh,
They
yeah,
grade us.
especially their teachers. You understand? So I think because I had that background with the debating and the
Yes.
public speaking, it enabled me to connect with my students and to impart knowledge in a way that they could understand and that they could relate to.
Another one would
Yes.
be accepting loss graciously, even when you know that you were the winner.
Well, I'm at that stage now where I can sort of accept a loss more graciously now
Than when you were 15.
than when I was 15.
Because you know when
with
at
that,
15,
especially that debate. At the time, it wasn't funny
No.
at all. It felt unfair.
Yes.
You know, and it's like, why do I have to accept this when everybody and their granny could see that is thief, you're all thief us. But
I know I'm not going to go that far, but what I can say, in managing the debate series, I tried to maintain balance. I didn't want to
Yes.
seem biased at all.
I understand.
But I must agree that there were times when I would ask the judges and the manager of the debate series from the Ministry of Education side, what went wrong here? Because, I mean,
Because you could
it,
see.
it was just clear.
Yes.
I said, what went wrong there? And
Yes, it happens.
It's life.
Yes, so now I can accept loss a little more graciously.
I'm glad that the injustice was meted out to you then. So now, if it happens, you would have cultivated the behavior to manage it well. I remember years ago, your mom passed away, but it's not as a result of natural causes. So she was your biggest cheerleader, and regrettably, she has not lived to see the reward of her labor.
No.
Tell me what happened on July 23rd, 2009.
All right. And isn't it interesting that today is July 23rd?
And we're actually taping a show on the 12th anniversary.
Well, she actually died on the 25th.
Well, it's true, 2 days before the 25th.
But yes, you were correct in terms of July 23rd, back in 2009. As I told you, I was a teacher, so at that time, school was on summer vacation. So I was at home. It was early afternoon, probably around 2 in the afternoon. She called, I think it was the house phone that she called and not my cell. She called and she asked me if my brother was home. And I said, no, remember Colin gone to work. I was wondering, why would she be asking for Colin at this time of the day? And I said, what happened? You need him to come and take you somewhere or something? She said, oh, somebody attacked me. Now, when she said that, it didn't click in my brain what she meant when she said attack. I just sort of thought maybe somebody hit her or something like that. So I said, what happened? And before I could get anything out of her, the line, you know, was disconnected. So I told my grandmother, and then I called my brother, and my brother said at the time his vehicle wasn't with him, but he would go and get it, if he could get it. My grandmother and I decided to walk to the shop. Remember I told you she ran a snack shop close to the public works department. Yes, you did say that,
and she had to leave home very early.
So it would have taken us about 20 minutes to get there by foot. And when we got there, there were scores of people on the outside. The ambulance was there. I was like, what on earth is going on here? I wasn't prepared for what I saw. When I pushed my way through the crowd, when I got inside of the shop, I saw blood on the floor, and she was being lifted onto a stretcher. The paramedics were lifting her onto the stretcher.
She was still conscious?
Right. Yeah, she was still alive, still barely conscious, but still alive. And the paramedic asked me who I was, and I said, well, she's my mom. And he said, well, you need to come with us because we're going to the hospital now. Wow. So I jumped into the ambulance, the back of the ambulance, and I rode with her. Got to the hospital, had to sign documents to do an emergency surgery. She did a surgery, ended up in the intensive care unit, wasn't really conscious because she wasn't talking or anything like that. And then this would have been the 23rd. The 24th, she was still like that. The 25th, they had to do another surgery.
Wow,
right?
so soon.
Yes, and in the evening of the 25th, around, I think it was around 9 p.m., the doctor came and told us that she had passed.
So when she told you she was attacked, she was actually speaking with you at the point after
it happened. Apparently, she was stabbed.
Right.
Right? That is what happened. She was stabbed, and she was stabbed like in the lower abdomen and the way in which the knife went into her body. It severed blood vessels that could not be repaired.
Oh.
And I guess all of that contributed to her death in the end. And I don't know, knowing my mother as I know her, I really do believe, because it seemed like it was a robbery.
Yes.
Right? I really do believe that she decided that that person was not going to get her money.
She confronted.
Yes.
The perpetrator.
I think the person wanted her money, and she meant, because I actually got the bag that she had the money kept in. After the police would have initially gone through the place and they returned certain items. When I got back the bag and I opened the bag, I saw the monies that she probably had made for that day.
Which means the person did not
They did not get anything.
the money.
And I really believe she fought with the person. I do believe, and I believe that's probably why
Because
they
if
stabbed
she
her.
kept telling you all your life, you see me getting up so early in the morning going, don't waste my money and don't waste my time. And you're her child. Imagine looking at me. I'm saying a stranger, but I don't know if it's a stranger. But imagine looking at someone who wants to take your money.
Her hard-earned money.
Your hard-earned money. And
So I believe that she put up a fight. I really do believe that. And knowing she was a quiet lady, but she had a very strong personality. And she had, just like me, she has a flip switch. So I really do believe probably the person, you know, some anger. She's
Yeah.
like, who do you think you are coming into my place of business that I work so hard to upkeep,
Yeah.
to come and tell me, give you my money? And I have a family to take care of. I really believe that's what happened.
What were your emotions upon hearing of your mother's passing? How did you hear about the passing?
I was at the hospital.
Oh, you were at the hospital?
Yes, most of us were at the hospital because she had to have the second surgery.
Yes.
I had been there earlier in the day, from early in the day, and other relatives had come. And if I even recall correctly, I think there were persons from church who were there
Yes.
praying and stuff like that. Or maybe they were there the first night, I can't
Okay.
quite remember. But I was at the hospital. I had some friends and some family members who were there. And I do remember when the doctor said it, I remember running from the area where we were standing, and one of my friends ran and grabbed me. I don't know where I was running to go. I just know that I needed to get away from there because I could not believe that my mother was actually gone.
Just 2 days.
Yes.
And that's it.
Right? I could not believe it. She was only 51 years old.
Wow.
And I always knew that I was going to accomplish the goals that I had set for myself.
You wanted to share that with her?
Yes, and I honestly, it's almost 12 years since that happened. I feel robbed.
You still feel robbed?
I feel robbed. I have learned to make peace with the situation, so to speak. I have been able to move on, to live my life, to do things, especially things that I know should have been proud of. And that's why I work so hard to get to where I am. And I will continue to work even harder to go further because I
It's her
know
legacy.
she would have been proud. And you know my brother as well. He
Yes.
recently had gotten a PhD.
And she's not here to
It is
share.
unheard of that in a single parent household at that time in the Point community, that someone, an immigrant, mind you, would raise 2 children to get to that stage in life where they would have gotten. That sort of thing is rare.
Yes.
It's probably more common now,
Yes.
but at the time when I was growing up and the circumstances that I was growing up in, it was rare. You really had to push and fight. Anyway, and I tell you, as much as we have accomplished, both my brother and I, we still had persons who acted as if they didn't think that we deserved what we would have worked hard for.
Well, I'm proud of you guys because all your accomplishments can be attributed to the diligence of your mother.
Yes.
And that's her legacy.
Yes.
That she worked ethically and legally to ensure
Yes.
that her children succeeded.
Yes.
And I'm proud of that.
Yes.
But this thing happened, this incident occurred, and there must have been an investigation to determine the motive and identify the perpetrator. Nothing?
Well, some sort of an investigation was done in the early days, just after it happened, maybe weeks into after it had occurred. But eventually things just slackened off. As a matter of fact, if I can recall correctly, I think the investigating team changed at least twice. So the initial set of investigators did not carry through the process.
And
it
that
was
would
changed
make it
again.
difficult for continuity.
Yes. And then after those second set of investigators, all of those persons that I know who were in the second set of investigators, I have seen them, over the years in recent times, and they've been promoted through the police force. So they're at a level now where they're not investigating crimes. So we haven't, as a family, we haven't heard
There's no
anything.
closure.
There has not been any communication with us for a very long time. And yes, to an extent, there's not closure. The closure that we have is closure that within ourselves we have tried to come to have, but not closure because someone was caught and someone was prosecuted and probably brought to justice. That did not happen.
So the murderer
Yes,
is still-
whoever he or she is, most likely I believe it's a he, is still out there. I don't know, but we don't even know if the person even lives here anymore. We just don't know.
Just don't
Nothing
know.
ever became of the matter. And as I told you, this was almost 12 years ago.
Yes, because
Yeah.
in 2 days' time it will,
It will
be
make
12
the,
years.
12 years.
I feel your pain. My mom is still alive, and I sit
always
here
excellent.
trying to imagine what it would be like for me.
I wouldn't
and
want
I
you
guess,
to feel that at all, Paula.
yes, I guess it's a sinking feeling in your stomach, in your heart, and especially because your mom would have been so diligent in making sure that you had all the tools to succeed.
Yes, yes.
And I can understand what you mean when you say that you feel robbed.
Yes.
But if it's any consolation to you, I don't mind being your mom because I'm so
Well,
proud of you.
Thank you very much. Well, I will say
Yes.
that although my birth mother is
Yes.
no longer on earth, a lot of women that I've met through at different stages of my life have really, in their own way, stepped up to be moms.
Yes.
I remember when I was getting married, I had quite a few of them.
Good for you.
And they all said to me at different points in time, your mother is not here, but we are taking
We're
care of you.
taking care of you.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's the community we miss in Antigua and
Yes.
Barbuda. When you say a community rears a child, that's what
It is
community
very
was like in
important.
Antigua
Yes,
and Barbuda.
yes. It
And
makes a difference.
Yes. Let's return to that community style of rearing our children. Please, my people. It's effective.
Yes, it works.
It works.
Yes.
It works. Lots have happened since your mom passed. Your brother has his PhD.
Yes.
You continue to achieve milestones. You're married to a handsome gentleman for
Yes.
almost 9 years, you
Yes,
said?
yes.
Wow, Susan. Soon you'll be at 28 years. I'm nearly at 28 years. Don't worry.
I look forward to the
you,
day.
you'll get there. Just keep it blissful.
Yes.
And it can work.
Indeed.
So you've elevated yourself and you're now helping to elevate others. You're working on a particular project. And so I want you to tell my audience about that project.
All right. Well, let me say 2 projects.
Okay.
One is a work-related project, and the other one is more something that I do because it's my way of imparting knowledge that I
Okay.
don't think I should keep to myself.
Very
In
well.
terms of the professional-related project for work, I am presently working on the revision of our laws here in Antigua and Barbuda.
Praise the Lord.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
Antigua and Barbuda has not published a revised edition of their laws since 1992.
And
1992.
how often should it be done?
It really should be done periodically, like maybe every 2 to 3 years. You should
So
put
soon?
out. Yes, because we go to Parliament here quite a lot, and I would know because I have to attend every Parliament session.
Yes.
And it's easy. We can literally pass about 40 laws. Some of them would be
In one
amendments.
sitting?
Some would, no, not in one sitting, in a year.
In a year.
Right? Some of them would be amendments to
Yes.
existing
Yes.
laws, but there would be new legislation among them, right? And even those that are amendments, because they are amending laws that already exist, those laws have to be updated to reflect the amendment.
Yes.
The problem is we have not done that as a country since 1992. So the last revised edition of our laws that was published was in 1992. Yes.
Unacceptable.
It is unacceptable, but we are working on remedying it.
Very
So
good.
from a professional standpoint, that's a project that I've been doing for
That's a
years.
huge project.
I have some challenges, but I will get over them eventually.
Yes.
So look out for that hopefully soon. All
Well,
right?
soon for you could be 6 months. Soon for me could be a year. So
It wouldn't be, it definitely would not be 6 months because
Okay.
you have to have a cutoff date in terms of if you're revising your laws, there should be a year and a month when you cut off. So any laws that are passed after that time will not be considered in the revised
need another year
publication.
and a half, maybe?
Well, my cutoff is the end of this year.
the end of this
So
year.
any
okay.
laws that were passed from 1993, because remember the last one was in 92, so any laws passed from 93 until the
Until
end of
this
this
current
year,
date.
they're all going to be part of the published revised edition when it is published.
Very good.
Yes.
Are you excited about that role?
I am. I do love it.
Okay.
It's
seems
a lot of work.
monotonous.
It's not.
It's
you,
not.
You know why? Because you would be amazed to see the things that you discover when you sit down and read laws.
Okay.
And you'd only understand it if you were actually doing it. You
Okay.
you read some things, you spot anomalies, you recognize things that you read, it causes you to think. You realize, okay, what I'm reading here and what's happening in the society don't match up anymore.
Yes.
So this law probably needs
Time
to
has
go.
evolved,
Probably we should
yes.
repeal this law, whatever. And it causes you to think futuristically as well. So
Yes.
If it's not a passion of yours, it's not a passion of yours.
I suppose.
Right. You said monotonous, but it can't be monotonous because it's not the same thing that you do. There are different things. You have to do tracking tables of all the legislation. You have to see which laws repealed, which laws amended, which laws. You have to keep track of that. You have to do a general index of the principal acts and any subsidiary legislation that were passed under those principal acts. So if you have, let's say, you have Nurses and Midwifery Act, maybe there were further laws called regulations that were done under that act. You also have to keep track of those as well. And you have to create an index for that as well. And then you actually have to do the process where you take the principal act, and if it was amended several times, place the amendments where they're supposed to go and track them and do all the formatting and everything. So it's not the same thing that you do constantly. You have different things to do. You can probably add a content creator to my list of
wow, there's more? Well, you did
Yes.
say
Yes.
that you're not finished as yet.
Yeah, that's what I told you. One
There's
of them
more
is
to
this
go.
sort of personal, because I recently started a YouTube channel.
Yes.
Because I recognize just by listening to persons in the society, even when I'm on social media, and certain topics are being discussed and there is a legal slant to those topics. The things that I see people comment and say,
They
I
get it
realize there's a
wrong.
level of ignorance there.
Ooh.
And you know, you can't blame them. If you have, if you don't know
If
law,
you
you
don't
just
know,
don't
you
know.
just
You
don't
just don't
know.
know. So my channel is a legal education channel. I'm not giving advice. If you want advice, you pay for that.
Yes.
But because my background is in teaching, I have it in me to tell others and teach others what I know, right? So my goal with my YouTube channel is just a few months old,
Yes.
is to produce videos on the channel that educate people about different areas of law, different topics that are of law, so they have a better understanding of how it works. So very recently, I would have posted 2 videos in 2 parts. The part 1 was talking about what a bill is. And we listen and watch Parliament, and we hear
Yes.
the minister
A
gets
bill was
up and
passed.
yes, and so on. But do you really know what it is? Do you
Yes.
understand fundamentally what a bill is, what the purpose of it is, what the different types of bills are? Do you know? Most people don't. So
And
I actually
they
have
actually
content
visiting
on that.
the page?
Yes, that
Good for
video,
you.
I posted it a month ago, that one about a bill, and it's had 100 and I think it was 60 something views in a month. I have all the videos that were there from 3 months that may not necessarily have reached that mark. So I'm
Right.
actually quite pleased
You're
with that.
improving.
And the second one I posted just maybe 2 days ago is the part 2, which basically outlines the structure of a bill. So the different parts of a bill. What is the explanatory memorandum? What is a section? What's a subsection? What's a paragraph?
So how can
What's a
I
long title?
access this
Well,
information?
you do have a YouTube channel, so you
Yes.
know how to get to YouTube.
But
Type
does it have a special
Type
name?
Legalology, Legalology,
Legal-
268. Because you know that's our area code for Antigua.
268.
Legalology 268.
Legalology 268.
And subscribe to the channel and get ready for educational videos.
So by the
You'll love
time
it.
you're through with me, I might be on my way to England to
Well,
study law.
nothing wrong with that, and you can call up my name.
Listen,
So that's my
Susan,
little thing. That's my way
Your
of giving
personal
back the knowledge that I have.
contribution to the people of Antigua and Barbuda.
Exactly. And even students who are in school, who may be even at the state college level.
Studying law.
Right? They do have law courses there. The videos that I intend to post in the future will be of help to them. Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
So Susan has learned, and she doesn't intend to keep this knowledge to herself.
Absolutely not.
She's sharing. If we all commit to doing that, can you imagine how many people would be less ignorant
That's
about
right.
what we're all doing?
And our society would be better all around.
We'll be
Yes.
more learned.
Definitely.
Your closing comments. We're ending the Paula show
Okay.
tonight.
All right. Well, I think my comments are generally going to be to young persons coming up, particularly persons who might have been just like myself, being raised in single parent households, low economic status
Yes.
in the household, and even probably persons who come from communities that may not seem as if they're up there,
Affluent.
right? But persons who actually want to make something of themselves. You have goals, you have dreams, you have aspirations, and you want to be someone in society. I am speaking to you, and I'm here to tell you, if you stay focused, if you have a plan, now life is unpredictable at times, and sometimes there will be deviations from the plan.
Yes.
The idea is, if there is a deviation, to get back on track.
Yes.
I had a lot of deviations.
Oh, yes.
Because my mom passed just before I was supposed to start my Bachelor of Law degree.
And that did
Months
not deter
before.
you.
And I just had to just push on. And I'm glad that I didn't defer for a year or I didn't just give up or whatever. I am happy that I did that. So even if there may be deviations in your plan, get back on track. Stay focused. Have some confidence in yourself. Don't allow anyone to diminish who you are and what you can do. Work to your full potential. And most importantly, remember God. Remember God. Put him in the midst of everything. And surround yourself with people who will uplift you and encourage you, not people who will bring you down. Thank you.
I don't have anything to add to that. It's rather compelling. Thank you for accepting our invitation to the Paula
Thank
Show.
you for having me.
And we will certainly have you back in the future.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank
And I
you.
will come.
Oh, yes. Thank you for staying with us on the Paula Show. I thoroughly enjoyed my conversation tonight with Mrs. Susan Jarvis. Have a good evening.